Haven't Seen It with Tim Siskito and Tommy Tiffany. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and today that is myself. That is Tommy, my co-host. Hi, Tommy. And our very special guest, Film School Dad, coming back again, back to back. He wasn't sick of us after one episode, so we're trying him for round two to see if he's sick of us. He also hadn't seen Thelma and Louise, and we had such a great time last week on 2001: A Space Odyssey. If you haven't listened yet, go check it out. I think it's one of our best episodes we've ever put out. He was like, that movie sounds great. I've always wanted to see it. We made the scheduling happen, and he's back. Sean, welcome back. Thanks for coming back on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to come back, talk movies, and it was really fun to watch a movie I never saw before.
Yeah, I knew a little bit of it. I of this movie going into it. Like, it was obviously like a landmark film for a lot of reasons. I feel like it gets a reputation for being like the Brad Pitt breakout movie, which I think after watching the movie, like, I totally see it, but I feel like that's an unfair way to talk about this movie 35 years later as being like, oh, it should only be known for the Brad Pitt breakout.
Well, like, in terms of like pop culture osmosis, the two things I know about this movie before I watched it today was that Brad Pitt like being hot as hell in this movie, and Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis drive off the cliff at the end. That's been parodied to death at this point.
Yeah, all I knew was that they drive off the cliff at the end, and that was it. That's all I knew. And it's interesting that I didn't know Brad Pitt was a big part of the movie because when I saw his name on the credits, I said, "Oh wow, Brad Pitt's in this. That's cool." I had no idea he was going to be in it or be such a pivotal part of the movie. You know, he's like a catalyst in a way, in a lot of ways. I had no idea that he was going to be a part of it at all. I was surprised by a lot of things, including that.
We used to have movies that co-starred Stephen Tobolowsky, and I just loved that he was here too.
Yes,
I do want to say,
an amazing character actor.
Yesterday I also watched a Stephen Tobolowsky movie, and I was just like, back to back Tobolowskis, let's go fucking go.
What was it? I wanted to ask you. What was the movie?
It was a shit 90s horror movie I bought on 4K called Mirror, where he plays a teacher in the movie. It's basically like an evil mirror movie, and the lead character is basically a Temu version of Winona Ryder. It's trash, but fun.
Oh, but that sounds great. That sounds great.
Yeah,
and
sounds like the kind of thing sounds like the kind of thing that would make me rip my eyeballs out.
We would never cover on the pod because it's like a 3-star movie at best.
That's cool.
A 3-star movie on your scale at best means it's like one. Actually, I always say like the biggest sin a movie can commit is being boring. Like, I don't care if it's like bafflingly bad. Like, if it's entertaining, it's entertaining.
That's the Friday the 13th movies in a nutshell. They're at least they're entertaining.
Those can get boring, but if it's bad, so bad it's good. It can be very good.
I think you're right. If it's boring, then it's like you can't even watch it.
I'd rather a movie be Samurai Cop than be Judgment Night, for example. Like, that's just like my personal.
I don't find that movie boring, but that's a whole other thing we talk about.
I thought
we belabored that point.
It's a boring action movie. I digress. But yeah, I also didn't realize how controversial this movie was at the time, and after doing some research of my own beforehand, before recording this episode, didn't realize how much of like a feminist identity this movie took. So I'm really glad we have 3 men on the podcast discussing feminism here. That's always really... You know what? That's the way it should be, right? It's just men talking about women's problems.
Let me tell you what these women really mean, actually.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what these women actually need to have happen to them. Standing right in the face of this movie. But I thought it was a really fun adventure. I felt like I did feel like it kind of like slowly sucked you into this like old Southern way. Like, it was... This movie released in 1991, and it kind of feels like it takes place in like the 60s or the 70s, you know, like it feels very intentional in its design that way of just like, if you want to talk about like the feminist movement of the 60s and all that progress that was made, it did not reach this part of America, in my opinion. And I felt like that was kind of a part of like the messaging that was being conveyed there.
I'm very interested to hear what you read about the feminism aspect of it, because like I have my own thoughts, but I was
Yeah.
interested to hear because you read about what the take of the day was.
Oh
So I
yeah.
would love to hear that later or now, whatever. But I can't wait to hear
Oh
about that because it's interesting.
I would
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
people get their opinions out, and then we can talk about people who are either dead or retired opinions on the
Okay.
movies. I think that'll be more interesting.
Mm.
There was, I will say, so for this movie and its release when it came out, like it was like MGM was in a bad place at the time, like doing poorly financially. They actually had to delay this movie's release because they ran out of money to market it. So it's kind of like a slow burn Memorial Day release, like got some fairly positive review or whatever. And then local papers at the time were, kind of debating the hot takeness of it, but nothing like widespread. And then in the middle of the summer, Time magazine published two articles, one condemning the movie and one praising the movie for its use of feminism and where it stands in relation to the United States. And that's what kind of brought the widespread, like, took over the widespread monoculture, putting it into a time where it could then receive Academy Award acclaim and nominations later on in the year, uh, which I think is interesting. But
Well, yeah, this was apparently the most rented movie of 1992 at the home video market, which is insane. And in terms of like Ridley Scott, this feels like the most Tony Scott, Ridley Scott movie I've watched in a
so
while, because
so
this feels
another
so much of a piece of true romance, which we covered
Interesting,
recently.
interesting, interesting.
so another interesting background of this movie that I found out about this movie was Ridley Scott. So the writer of this movie, Callie Curry, actually wanted to direct this movie first, but they said, "Hey, this is like they said at the time, if you put two women on the poster of a movie, it's instantly a lesbian movie." Which, okay, and then and
Yeah,
then it if you then like she had no directing experience either, and it's like, we're not giving you this budget. Like there's too many red flags here for us to go through with this. Like we need like a pronounced like male. So they went to Ridley Scott, and Ridley Scott said like I don't know if I'm the one that should be telling this story, but I think my brother Tony might be a really great fit. And then Tony said like he had he's like, I have my own problems with women. I'm not touching this with a 10-foot
yeah.
pole. And then they went around the circle, like trying to get other big male directors at the time,
Like
not like your
Richard
Scorsese.
Donner was
Yeah,
there, like
like
Kevin Reynolds, like
Really?
stuff like that.
getting a bunch of
Yeah,
different guys to try to do this movie. And then it just was like, Ridley was already signed on as a producer. They couldn't get anybody else. And Ridley Scott's like, all right, fine, I'll direct the movie.
yeah. Michelle Pfeiffer pretty much like convinced him to do it, because there's a version of this movie that was going to be Michelle Pfeiffer and Jodie Foster as Thelma Louise,
And there was
and
also a version of this movie
Okay.
with Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep.
yeah,
But
and
they just aged out of this.
they just
Ooh,
they
so
job it, and then they did Death Becomes Her the next year, which great movie we need to cover one day.
so I don't think it would be appropriate for us to say which women should have ended up in the role, right?
I,
That would be inappropriate. I'll
I
just say I think I'm happy with Gina Davis and
oh,
Well, also
not
in the
that
terms of Jodie Foster of it all, that means that Jodie Foster didn't do this movie because of Silence of the Lambs, which I'm fine with
oh
that trade off right there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
Having s-
worked out for her career. I
yeah,
think it would be interesting to see Meryl Streep playing white trash. Like that's just like nobody's ever let her do it, and like I
I
just
think she's
wanted
done
to.
that.
Yeah.
Nope. Then I haven't seen it, but I would have loved to have just seen that, because she has such a pronounced way about her, such like an East Coast attitude that just kind of like comes across in all of her performances that I've seen in her, even though she could do very different things. That is like a baseline Meryl Streep trait. I feel like she doesn't necessarily fully escape from, and uh,
Yeah, so
and
Streep is Louise. You're saying Streep is Louise?
no,
Yeah,
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 Streep is
that
Louise and Goldie
tracks.
Hawn was with Thelma, and they said Goldie Hawn's probably just a little bit too old for what we want for Thelma at this point in time, which I think makes sense. But I think they landed on the two big things. But this is also an American road trip movie, and that's Easy Rider. This is like a historically male-dominated trait. There's action in it. There's violence in it. Again, all historically male traits in male movies.
Mm.
And then this movie kind of takes all of that and just says let's feminize it. Um, and a lot of like the vilification of the movie was more like was about the attitude towards women being in those roles, whereas like if you inverted it and it was two men doing this, like would you just love them inherently?
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know if it's just retrospect or not, but first time I ever watched it, I love the story of Thelma and Louise. I mean,
Oh,
it's fun to see them do it, and I think, character wise, it really makes sense. And if it was two guys doing it, they would be criminals, but it's tragic, I guess, what happens to them, right? Because you seem like these are two nice women, or I and maybe that's the point of what they were saying in the news, and is that it shouldn't be them, but it shouldn't have been them, and I think that's why it works so well for the movie.
I
That's
I
why
I
that's why it's perfect.
they turned criminals versus one piece that was mentioned in, I can't remember which piece it was referring to the bank robberies of like the 1930s and those outlaws turning against a system that had completely broken upon them, and they were cheered and rooted for and idolized by the public for taking from the people that completely broke this country. And then on this side of the coin, it's like that's kind of them too. Like this whole thing starts with Thelma and Louise, where Thelma is just kind of flirting and dancing and having fun. She's starting her vacation. She lives a super suppressed housewife life. Like I love how well that was conveyed in the beginning of the movie, by the way, where
Oh yeah,
it didn't take
immediately.
up any time at all, but you knew instantly that like this woman had not seen the light of day in 10 plus years. Like since she said I do, it has just been nothing but misery for her. And she's finally out, she's having fun, she's dancing with this guy, and then he tries to rape her in the parking lot.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, which
the
which
whole
I didn't see coming. Actually, I wasn't prepared for that. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know what I was going to get into when I watched this movie for the first time.
my radar was picking up. I was like, this guy's gonna rape her, like, or at least try to rape her. I could
Yeah, he
feel that.
he
I
gave off
could
a little
feel.
creeper vibes.
He gave off that energy. And their fear about going to after they kill Herman is, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Let's just run. Like we can't go to the cops. Like nobody's gonna believe that we shot him because he was raping you. Like they all saw you flirting and dancing with him. Like nobody's going to believe this.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Like that's
yeah.
just where they were, and that's what kind of starts their adventure into I think like personal freedom. I think it's interesting also in this movie that like Thelma is the one that I think has like the real character growth comparative to Louise, who has has a little bit older, has a little bit more life experience, and has clearly experienced more of like male oppression, which is referenced often by her hatred of the state of Texas and her insistence on never returning to the state.
No, I think you're right, right? Thelma gets the character arc, but Louise sort of gets a happy ending because she gets a happy ending with Michael Madsen. So she
Yeah.
gets something. She gets a little
Mm.
something for
She
herself, but it's Thelma that gets the full
mm,
arc of like freeing herself. But
well,
I think the
she
whole
get
movie is a representation of them freeing themselves from men. That's why all the other characters are men, and men
yeah.
screw them over and over again. Each other male character kind of screws them over in a different way. And then even Harvey Keitel is a man trying to help them, but he's unsuccessful at it, right? They have to ultimately take
But
matters into their own
you
hands.
also
So I see the metaphor.
but like I kind of a read of my character of his was like he was Arkansas State Police. Once the bank robbery happened and they had to get the feds involved and they were crossing state lines, like it's out of his jurisdiction. So to me, it always felt more like there was an empathy to him. Like you felt it with when he goes to the crime scene and Harvey Keitel is talking with the waitress who had been pouring them shots all night, and was just she said a very clever line where she said, "Yeah, I felt Harlan was Harlan had this coming. If it wasn't them, it was going to be somebody." Like meaning like this bar knew this guy's mo, and
She even
like
called him out immediately, like, "Are you bothering these women, Harlan?" Like it
yeah
was,
yeah. So
playful,
like
but
Yes.
yeah,
like they knew like there was new in there, which I think Harvey Keitel internalized. Now you need to like obviously there's like a full legal process if we want to talk about it realistically, which we don't, but I always felt like his passion, like it's not stated, but there is always a thing of like for cops, it's like when you lose your jurisdiction, like you lose a case that can make or break your career. And considering it was the whole premise of the movie that spans states, like if he was able to talk them off the ledge and go into his custody, he could then take them back to their home state and at least deal with them on those grounds versus
Yeah.
the other
Like
grounds. But like
Tobolowsky,
may,
yeah.
maybe that's
Tobolowsky was
more
like screaming him the whole time, being like, "Oh, like stay out of this, like you're done."
and and maybe it's an unfair reading of it, but given the way that all the men are presented, like I felt like it was there for that character because we never got a reason. Like there was never a moment for Harvey Keitel's character being like, "Hey, this is why." Like my mother was raped or something like I
Oh, you're
witnessed this. Like
saying you're
using
saying
like
why did Harvey Keitel ultimately care? Like what was the
yes,
thing for
like
him? I
and
agree. There wasn't like a hard
there wasn't
thing
like
for him
and
to
like
turn.
I didn't need some like big moment for his character that wasn't like his point, but my point was being like what's the reason that he cares? And for me I'm just like for all these men that kind of seem pretty bottom line, like brass tacks down to business, like we're going to just do like this is what needs to get
Yeah.
done, so we're going to do it. Like he didn't get any justification, which I just thought was very interesting. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, "This feels like the reason why." But we're just touching the tip of the iceberg here. There's so much to discuss with like the discourse of this movie, with the movie itself. I think it's low key like a beautifully shot movie. I thought it exemplified like the beauty of America. Uh,
It's
it,
extremely well lit too, and just like the whole entire cinematography. I mean, so many scenes, even when you have like the opening bar scene of this movie, the bar
uh,
where all the shit happens, it made me think so much of like another bar, like Terminator 2, when Arnold walks into the bar in the beginning of the movie, Terminator 2, and gets like goes in the head redneck bar because it's just
Yes.
well lit
Yes. Yes.
and just like it feels like there's so much like almost like fog or just like aura in them when they're driving late at night. And
cigarette
yeah,
smoke.
cigarette smoke, and also when they're driving at night, it's not pitch black. It's just like there's like their dash lights are on or something like that, where you can just see it's just so well lit and so well in the zone. It's just a really stylish movie. Um, so who's it shot by? This is shot by Aidan Biddle, who was just a great cinematographer back in the 90s. He also shot like James Bond films like Our Majesty's Secret Service. He was also Event Horizon, The Mummy, the Brendan Fraser one. So just like a really fun cinematographer. Princess Bride too is one of his things.
Well, I thought it
Uh,
was going to be a beautiful movie from the first shot. I don't know if you guys noticed. It starts out they're just looking at the mountains, and it's completely like mute. There's almost no
mm-hmm,
color. It's like completely unsaturated. And as the shot continues and the credits start to roll, it becomes more and more and more saturated and colorful, and then it turns day into night, and it's all in one shot where the colors change and the day moves. It was a gorgeous shot. It was crazy. I don't know. It's the first thing I noticed. Obviously, it was the first shot, but I love intro shots into movies, and I really noted that. Um, and I thought it said something about the movie, and I think that that's the stamp of a great cinematographer. I mean, that's one camera shot. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
no, yeah, I, I, I think you can say often like the first shot of your movie is maybe the most important because it's telling this person what kind of a movie can they expect, right? Like right, it's the first thing their eyeballs are processing. So like that first sequence of events, and especially like the '90s, like very traditional, like title crawl sprawl of like just painting the atmosphere of like where we are, where we're starting out, like and how are you introducing the story? Like, feels like a very underrated Ridley Scott gem here, to me. But let's quickly discuss about what have you watched recently? What is something you have seen a movie, a show, a play. Uh,
So I'll start off. I watched a movie that did kind of remind me of this recently. This is like my second rewatch of it. It came out a couple years ago. Love Lies Bleeding. I don't know if either of you guys got to see that when it came out a couple years ago. The Kristen Stewart movie.
I never
Um,
saw it. No.
so Love Lies Bleeding is basically like kind of a throwback to movies like Thelma Louise or even stuff like Basic Instinct, like just great 90s crime thriller, like erotic dramas too, where it's just exceptionally well shot. This is directed by Rose Glass, and just in terms of like nighttime scenes for Love Lies Bleeding, just like Kristen Stewart, like in just like the most great like neon lights and stuff like that, and just fantastic performances, drenched in red, drenched in other colors. And you have just this like electric like 80s soundtrack going behind it. The first 5 minutes of Love Lies Bleeding are electric. It's like one of the most cool things I've ever seen to open up a movie. So check it out. Really fun, and really just like if you like movies like Thelma Louise, if you like movies like Basic Instinct, if you like movies like even like The Housemaid recently, or even Leon the Professional, check out Love Lies Bleeding. You'll love this. It's just a great movie. Really fun. Kristen Stewart just feels like she makes really interesting projects these days.
Once you get that Twilight, Robert Pattinson's kind of the same way too. It's like,
Yeah.
and even Daniel Radcliffe or Elijah Wood, like these people who were very young when they started, they just get this and they in these big franchises, like they now have the money, so they're not reliant on trying to find their Marvel or whatever. It's like, hey, if it seems really cool, I'll do it, but I'm not doing it if like I don't like the project. So I think that's really cool. Sean, did you watch anything interesting since we last spoke?
Since we last spoke, I
Or
think I
before, and you can
watched.
lie?
Well, so here's the thing. So more recently, I watched Full Metal Jacket, but that's not
Ooh.
what I want to talk about. I could talk about that. I love it.
Yeah.
I watched that for fun. But I watched this movie Eden a week ago. I don't know if you've heard of it. It was with Jude Law. It was directed by Ron Howard, and it came out maybe like a
I
year ago.
I heard of it. I
Oh
didn't get
yeah.
to see it though.
2024?
It's like
2024,
one of
yeah.
those Sydney Sweeney movies that bombed, right? That's the only context I know about it.
I had no expectations for it whatsoever. I watched it on my phone. I'm going to just be honest. I watched it on my phone at work. I'm a paramedic, so sometimes I get to watch movies on my phone in an ambulance when we're
Yeah.
not helping people. So sometimes I will watch a movie that I wouldn't watch at home on my big screen, or that I wouldn't go to the movies for. So like for me, that's what streaming is good for, is like I'll watch it when I've got nothing else to do. And I accidentally feel like I stumbled on a gem. I thought it was a really great movie. I didn't know that it was directed by Ron Howard. I didn't know it was a true story. And I didn't know it was a true story until the end of the movie. So I watched this movie I thought might be boring, with Sydney Sweeney, Anna de Armas, Jude Law, Vanessa Kirby, and I'm going to say his name wrong. So his name is Daniel Bruhl, and he's like Zemo in the Marvel movies.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's the true story of these Germans in the 30s who settled on this island in the Galapagos, and they were trying to live on their own in the middle of nowhere. And at first it was just Jude Law and Vanessa Kirby, who were these real world scientists, and he went there to write a manuscript. But then Daniel Bruhl comes with his wife, who's Sydney Sweeney, and their kid, and they start to kind of annoy each other. And then Anna de Armas comes, and she's actually she was a baroness, like a German baroness, and she wanted to build a hotel there. And they end up all killing each other, and it's just really interesting. It was fun. I thought it was going to be absolute trash, and it was a great, interesting movie that's a true story. And so even watching the movie and then diving deep into the true story is really fun. So if it's something that maybe you weren't going to watch, I say, like, check it out. If you got nothing else going on, it's really good.
That sounds like something I would find interesting. Yeah, that sounds like a very interesting swing for late stage Ron Howard. Like I can't even think of anything he's done since Solo. So to me, like I think that's interesting. And speaking of Solo, I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for the Mandalorian and Grogu. I really am. I'm trying, man. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's the childhood part of my heart that wants to like imagine Star Wars can still be good. I can't be less excited for, like, I think I might be less excited for this than I was for The Rise of Skywalker. No, that's not true. But I digress. I rewatched the latest great thing that Star Wars has done. And I watched the last 6 episodes of Andor season 2.
Andor
And
is great.
I still need to check it out.
It's Tommy. It's so worth your
It's
time. It's
so
unbelievable.
I'll admit,
good.
I watched
It's
the
really
first
good.
episode when I was working like remote one day, and I immediately realized this is not a show to be watching working. It's
No,
I got like timing out.
So then I won't spoil anything here, despite it being out for a year. But there's the 8th episode of the 2nd season is like a breathtaking work of art that I don't know if like. There's the nostalgic point in my brain, right? That's like Empire, I Love You, I Know. That a whole final sequence is like that's peak Star Wars, right? Like that's the greatest thing that's ever happened in the history of cinema. But also, I was saying this to Tommy before you joined the call, Sean, and I was like, if you had to show a grown ass man, I mean, like, pays his bills, he's not into he's not a kid, right? Like, he's just a grown up. You had to be like, you had to watch one Star Wars thing for you to become a fan of Star Wars. Like, is it Andor? Like, is that the thing now to try to like be like, no, it's actually, it can be really good. Like, there's actually interesting stories you could tell in this world. Like, for me, like, I don't know if I can ever actually get past Star Wars and Empire. Like, I don't know if those two can ever physically be topped by that world. But rewatching Andor is just the last 6 episodes. I was like, holy, like,
it's a great show. It's a great show, and I'll raise your challenge, and I'll say if someone has never seen Star Wars ever, and you showed them the prison episodes in season 1, just that arc. There's like 2 or 3 episodes, and it's with I'm blanking on his name.
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis. Just the prison episode with Andy Serkis. Those few episodes, some of the best TV I ever saw in my life. I mean, really, really excellent television. Excellent television. Great storytelling. It's amazing. So like you could start there and then start over at the first episode, and if you were unsure, because it's so good.
No one was dying to go to the theater to watch the Animal Farm remake where they changed the entire concept of the story.
My daughter just saw the Sheep Detectives. I think that's a different movie. But
I heard that was good. I heard that was
great. Hugh Jackman. My daughter just saw.
My girlfriend was like, "I want to go see this." Like, I heard
it was good. I heard it's good.
I've heard it's great. Yeah.
I do have to shout out one thing about the Animal Farm movie that is probably awful, but I do like their marketing campaign where they decided to do terrible fucking reviews on like Rotten Tomatoes and just like use paint to be like, this is the best Orwellian adaptation instead of worse or something like that. And just like owning the fact they're getting shit reviews.
I watched an interview with Serkis and he was talking about this the other day. I forget whose podcast it was. It's like a YouTube. It's a great movie podcast, but Serkis was talking about how they decided to make it a more family-friendly story, and I couldn't help but like roll my eyes because like I read Animal Farm 20 years ago, and like it's not a family-friendly CGI movie. I don't understand how they took the leap to make it like Toy Story. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I've also heard like the whole conceit of that was like anti-communism. Like that's what that whole book was about. And then this one, like this movie, like flips that on its head and is like pro-communism. I'm like, I don't care what political leanings you have. Like personally, I just don't give a shit. But if you're going to adapt Animal Farm, like you can't, like you can make changes to things, but don't change the core conceit of what the novel is trying to tell you.
I mean, it's a serious adult story, and it's using the scaffolding of a farm to tell a story about different types of people and different places in the world and levels of financial success by using the animals as a representation of us. And it's a huge metaphor. So to make it like a kid movie, I don't know. I wish it the best. I wish it the best. I like Andy Serkis.
Well, it seems I
wish he made like a dark movie.
He was talking about that. He was talking like 10 years ago, being like, this is going to be his magnum opus. It's going to be all performance capture. And then just being like broken down. I remember Animal Farm was a book that I had to read for like a middle school, like English book report. And I waited until the night before it was due to read it. And I had to read it all in one night. And thankfully it's a 92-page book. So it's very easy to do that. But it was a panic-inducing thing where I just remember, fuck, I have to read all of Animal Farm right now. What the hell?
I was about to say, we've all been in middle school or high school. We've all had the concession of having to read Animal Farm at some point in our life. But this is not Animal Farm. This is Thelma and Louise.
When it comes to gunplay,
you went crazy.
Got that right.
foreplay, good times, or grand theft, The best man for the job is a woman.
I'm real sorry about this. I apologize also.
Susan Sarandon, Gina Davis, Thelma and Louise, rated R.
Sneak preview to
Thelma and Louise is a 1991 American buddy comedy drama. I don't know if I agree with that. Film directed by Ridley Scott and written by Callie Coro. Film stars Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon as Thelma and Louise, two friends who embark on a road trip that ends up in an unforeseen circumstances. The supporting cast includes Harvey Keitel, Michael Madsen, Christopher McDonald, and Brad Pitt. Filming took place in California and Utah from June to August 1990, following its premiere at the 44th Cannes Film Festival on May 20th, 1991. Thelma and Louise was theatrically released in the United States, became a critical and commercial success, receiving 6 nominations at the Academy Awards, with Corey winning Best Original Screenplay. Scott was nominated for Best Director, and both Sarandon and Davis were nominated for Best Actress.
So I want to start off by, you kind of scoffed at them saying, I don't know if it's going to be a buddy comedy. So the trailer right there, they sold this movie.
That was how they were
comedy.
selling that was how they were selling this thing.
No, but I do think for the majority of this movie, this is like, except for like a couple moments, I feel like this movie was mostly aiming towards like a fun buddy road trip movie in a way.
I don't think I can call any movie with like a actual like rape scene that's actually terrifying to just ever be classified under the term comedy. Like it just,
I'd say maybe drama first, but it does have a lot of comedic elements to it, and like where a lot of this feels like almost like a feel good movie in a way. Minus the rape scene, obviously.
I disagree with the feel good. I completely disagree with this movie.
I feel like Contagious, where like you have like Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon just going off, and it's this weird thing where like even Susan Sarandon said in like a 10th anniversary DVD thing, special feature, where she's talking about how she so often has women go up to her and like even to this day be like, oh well, she's Thelma, I'm Louise, and like, you know, people just like really capture off that, and you can see it in a way that's like infectious in a way, the way they play off.
Oh.
I wouldn't call this strictly a comedy in no way whatsoever, but it does have that element to it.
I actually feel like the movie's kind of bipolar, where you'll get a really, really serious scene, a very serious drama scene. It doesn't have to be the scene in the parking lot. It could be the scene with Michael Madsen proposing, right, in the hotel room. But then the next scene could be them like laughing in the car and like doing silly things, or like even the robbery is kind of silly. So I felt like the movie kind of goes very, very hard, serious, very, very hard, fun Hollywood movie. And I even noticed it in the score, where like you'll get this really brooding music and then like this really fun music right after it. The first shot is like score, and then it goes into like the diner music, and they're having a blast. And that happens over and over again.
Well, this is like where this movie does remind me a lot of True Romance, because I mean, first of all, you
thinking a little. I felt a little True Romance in this.
Well,
as well,
you have like Hans Zimmer did the score of both those movies. Brad Pitt's in both those movies in a scene-stealing performance, and obviously Ridley Scott, the brother of Tony Scott, directed this movie. And even like, you know, I remember with True Romance how it had like very prominent steel drums in the score, and you kind of heard a little bit of like some slight steel drums in one scene in particular, and made me think like, oh, that's going off that again. So it's just like, I guess Hans Zimmer just loved the steel drums, but you see it like in just like the playfulness of just the two of them right there, and then it goes off and off.
I think the buddy part of it makes sense. I just like I think this movie is like using that as a way to like soften the blow of what it's trying to communicate, because it's not like a strict drama by any means, but I just think the classification of comedy like there's some funny moments, but I just like under the broad terms of what I consider to be a comedy movie, there's like under no circumstances does this movie, I think, even fit into those words.
Well, there's some moments
I didn't think it was a comedy. I agree. Like, I don't think it was a comedy. I could see how it might be classified that way, but I don't think it was a comedy.
I can understand why a studio wanted to market it as one. Like, I could totally get that. Like, that makes sense to me.
I think I'm probably like the defender here. I think this is a dramedy is probably the best word to describe it. But like, there's some scenes that are like played straight for laughs, where like the truck driver they keep on seeing that keeps on harassing them over and over again. Yeah. And there's like making like obscene calls. And the way that they take him out and the way they like destroy his truck is played for laughs, where like they just pretty much are fucking with him, and like he thinks he's gonna get like a threesome out of it, and then all of a sudden they pull the guns on him. He's like, wait, what's going on? And it's not played like in a serious dramatic moment whatsoever. It's just kind of lighthearted, where it's like you wouldn't expect to see this out of two girls happening right here. This guy's gonna get his comeuppance.
Well, can I move on that again? So like
Yeah.
I really do feel like the movie is kind of bipolar where take the very last scene, right? So they drive off the cliff and they have this really emotional moment before they do it. They have a conversation, the music is swelling, and they drive off the cliff. And as soon as they drive off the cliff, it immediately cuts to really happy music. It sounds like a 1980s sitcom intro, like the
Yeah.
intro to the show, and they're smiling and it's like the memories. And I think that's a perfect example because you see the truck driver scene where they blow his truck up and it's very lighthearted and very funny, Tommy, like you were just saying.
Yeah,
And then it cuts to the very serious FBI chase. It's like we need to do this fun Hollywood laugh to pay off the serious thing. And I feel like the whole movie, it just keeps doing that. It's really
there's
interesting.
some scenes of like the FBI agents where like they're trying to tap into the phone call and waiting for them to call over and over again. Where like she immediately calls Christopher McDonald, who, by the way, what a mustache Christopher McDonald has in this movie. I did not know
was
he
so
could
happy
pull that
to
off.
see him in the movie. I was
Yeah,
so happy to see him.
First of all, I didn't know it was him for a while.
Perfect casting, by the way. Just
He almost like reminded me of like remember that gay guy in Family Guy that has the mustache that's like the like friend of theirs or whatever that's always there and has the voice, because he almost had like almost an effeminate voice to him in a way, he's domineering. It's kind of just ridiculous. He was talking about the carpet manager shit and he's just like, oh, like, how it is on Friday nights. He's clearly cheating on his fucking Gina Davis. Like, no
all
question.
day. He's like, how Friday nights are at the car dealership.
And she's like, I can't believe that people are buying carpets on Friday nights.
Can you imagine cheating on Gina Davis in 1991? I mean, like,
God.
come
Out
on.
of your mind.
Insane.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Out of your,
but
this
anyways,
movie
when you-
stinks. 1 star. No.
yeah. When you go on the FBI thing and they're trying to get the wiretap, Gina Davis answers the phone call and she immediately knows that Christopher McDonald knows, hangs up. She's
Hello.
like,
So
hello.
funny.
He's like, what? I just said hello. And then you have them like waiting around, and then some guy's reading like a fucking porno mag in the fucking like,
Yes.
house.
Yeah, he was reading Boudoir or something like that.
Yeah. And they're
yeah.
all just waiting around. So like, there are like a lot of like comedic moments. So I do think it does like at least qualify for the dramedy label. It's just like you said, Sean. Sometimes it's a little like just like jarring, where you go from like how lighthearted the bar scene is at first. And Tim, I feel like that's what your average Nashville night is. You're fucking doing square dance or whatever the fuck that is.
There's only one. No, there are a couple of square dancing places. Square dancing's really intense, by the way. It's a like no. If you don't know what you're doing, like you don't get on the.
I'm sure. Yeah,
you don't get in the mix. It's not like a freestyle sesh. It's like you either know how to do it or you do not know how to do it, and you do not go in. You do not enter the square dancing space. But that's like a true Southern honky tonk. And the funny thing is like all the Broadway bars that definitely used to be like that are closed and have been replaced by like musical artist bands that charge you $18 for a beer. And there's only one place in East Nashville called Skinny Dennis. Sean, you might be familiar with Skinny Dennis. There is a Skinny Dennis in Brooklyn. It was the original. And it was Brooklyn. It was a Nashville themed honky tonk that opened in Brooklyn. Tommy and I have been there before after we saw
check it
it.
We have?
After we saw the second Tom Holland Spider-Man in Brooklyn. Really random
You saw it in
memory
Brooklyn?
there. Yeah. And then so then they opened it there and they just like play like straight like real country music, not like the bands downtown just
whatever
play,
the
like,
popular country
what-
music
Not like
they-
the
is.
they
Florida
have-
Georgia Line bullshit.
I
have
don't
a-
listen to popular music. Don't worry, you're not going to offend me.
I don't care if I offend you. But my friend played downtown for a number of years. And they like he said, it's like a jukebox of that band is a jukebox of 200 songs that they just have to go through. Like there's a band on Broadway that plays at Kid Rock's, which is like one of the primetime slots to get, and they have a fiddle player. And they hold The Devil Went Down to Georgia like hostage, like if you get our tip donation up to $500, we'll play The Devil Wears Down to Georgia, every band on Broadway. If you want to hear Freebird, $100 tip. They're it's a jukebox. So it's very interesting, but like I have experienced that kind of bar, like that's way more divey than the one like that exists now. But I was like walking in there, I was like, that's Skinny D's. I'm familiar with this location.
Because even when they're doing like all the line dancing or whatever the hell that is, type of dancing they're doing, like where all the people are going up in one like line, I was like, this seems so much fun. And then it takes a hard right turn. We're like, holy shit! But you even get moments like where when they interact with the state trooper, and I think that was just hilarious. I was just dying the whole time.
Absolutely.
And the state trooper pulls him over, and then as soon as Gene Davis comes out with the pistol, and the guy is just sweating bullets. He has no idea what the heck. He starts fucking crying, and he's just fucking sniveling. It's played for laughs, and I was dying. I was I thought it was hysterical.
I agree. I think the movie. Well, I watched it twice for this podcast, right? So I had never seen it before, and I watched it 2 times, and I really noticed it the second time how different those scenes can be and how serious it is. I'll keep going back to Michael Madsen because he was like a really happy accident for me to find in this movie. I love that Madsen was in the movie. I didn't expect him to be in it, and I thought he was great. I thought it was a great Madsen role. And
it was a great using of his like persona and like reverse in it.
Yeah,
because like
he was
when
so
you're in that
guy.
scene. Because apparently he originally auditioned for, or they wanted him for the Harlan role, and he's like, "No, I don't want to play that guy. I don't want to play the rapist. Like I've played like roles like that before." He's like, "I think I can do something a little different." And then when they get him to Jimmy Lennox, when you have that scene of him and Susan Sarandon where he's proposing to her, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop to him to be a typical Michael Madsen character and be violent and crazy, and he briefly
does a little bit,
a little bit, when he like fucking chips over the table, and then you're waiting for him to go full and like fucking hit her or something, and then he doesn't. He ends up being.
It was so real. It was so real because I don't know. Have you ever just like thrown something or been so angry that you want to hit something? And he knocked the table down, and he was like, "I'm sorry. I love you." Like it was a real moment. It was absolutely perfect for Madsen, and you'll have scenes like that, and then the next scene is like the silliest, like even though it was 1991, I would say the humor really felt like 80s humor. Maybe the seriousness felt like 90s and the humor felt like 80s, and maybe that's what was bothering me, but there was something that was bothering me just a little bit about
it's the weird thing about decades, that they say that like really like a culture of a decade doesn't really kick in until like 93 or 94, or like like midway through
like the 90s. Yes. A film in the 90s really begins with Jurassic Park. It's like
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
So exactly. Like anything before that, you don't necessarily classify. For me, it just felt like moments. It's kind of like, and maybe my persona of like dramas has been meddled by like The Sopranos or Mad Men, like shows that are genuinely funnier than most comedies that come out. Even though they are like sincere, serious dramas, but they just know how to work it in. This felt like that more to me than it did like a dramedy. Like. I just think
the trailer oversold the comedy right there by far.
Well, they didn't know how. It's 1991. You're gonna two women take on the world is not going to get asses in seats in 1991. So they have to try to sell this movie any way that they can, even though it was misleading. But
did you guys watch the trailer before the movie or after?
No? I just
I went totally blind. Yeah, I went totally blind.
Oh, I don't. I when I watch a movie for the first time, I do not do any research. Like I want to know as little as I possibly can. But
so I think it's really interesting that it was sold as a kind of buddy comedy, because I assumed that it was going to be a very serious movie, knowing the only thing about it was that they commit suicide at the end. I thought this was going to be a very, very serious movie, and I guess I was pleasantly surprised. That was kind of fun too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I thought it was
weird. It's a weird movie, isn't it?
Because you wouldn't expect it. Because like the movie ends with people killing themselves. You wouldn't expect it to be like such a fun movie at some points, where or just even like have comedic moments. You wouldn't expect that out of this at all.
I wonder what it was like walking out of the theater on day one before anyone knew that they ended the film that way. I wonder what it was like walking out, be like, so they kill themselves or? happened
there's
there?
definitely a thing of like
Because it doesn't
wishing,
even
like,
linger on the shot. I thought it would linger on the shot,
well,
I
because
didn't
I
know it
think
was
of
just
like there's like stuff like Robot Chicken like parodied the end scene of this where like they drive off the cliff and then they end up like the car ends up flying like in Greece or something like that, where you almost would expect like a fantastical element almost in the end, where but instead just like just freeze frame. like you said, like an 80s sitcom or something like that.
and then it's just shots.
It's a very bizarre ending going into then like the photo montage of the highlights of the trip over the credits. Like that was weird. That was interesting. It
It's
was
like the beginning of Full House. Like it's
yeah,
so strange.
but how it given the way the movie builds up, right? And then you have your two. Given that this is an American movie not made in the 1970s, right? How do you end this movie? Because like the only time period you could end this in the realistic way with them killing themselves is the 1970s. Otherwise, they don't make American popcorn pictures like that. And so like you stop it there, and you just go like. I mean, they don't survive, but maybe they survive. Like there is a version of the ending that they shot with Harvey Keitel running, looking down on the cliff, and then it cuts to like a shot of a car just driving off into the distance. Like they survived, even though like going into the Grand Canyon does kind of trap you a little bit because like even if you survive, you are in the Grand Canyon. Like it's big. But you are centralized to the Grand Canyon itself, and you have to ascend out of said canyon, right? But there was a version that did try to highlight that of the ending. I kind of think it ended on the right ending. Like as weird and baffling as the ending is, it just goes like it just says whatever you want to happen happened at the end. Like if you came in,
It tricks you
being
into
like,
making you think this is a feel good movie because, like you said, you immediately have like the montage of shit where like I can see people going out of the theater and be like, "Oh yeah, that was so much fun! Fuck yeah, they didn't go to jail. They went on their own terms. Like hell yeah, Thelma Louise, let's go."
yeah, and I think that's like ultimately the part, and like I guess now is the time, if any, to discuss the criticism belabored towards and the praise towards this movie because it's one of the first major American films to prominently feature just two female roles in the lead position, without a man also being there. So the film received harsh criticism from those who thought it was biased against men and that the depictions of men were unfairly negative. Um, and I think like that's just my way of generalizing the articles. Like Playboy and Miss were two of the biggest publications.
Playboy had some problems with this movie. Shocker.
So Playboy published two pieces on this. One was just a film review where they actually loved the movie, and then they had a men's columnist who's called the movie dangerous about the way women are depicted in the movie. Yeah, and I think it is an interesting double standard that women do get held to, where like I think for me when I have issues with like it's the male power fantasy being driven by like just being vehicled by a woman, like when that kind of story is told is when I just like when it's just like, oh, you just took out 20 giant dudes by yourself, like okay. um and I think more so like this one like really plays into who Thelma and Louise are. Like I don't have any issues with like how they're portrayed in this movie. Did you guys feel
Well,
any
no,
sense of like your did your testicles descend a little further, gentlemen, while you were watching this movie and the misogyny just started like spewing
coming
in your
out.
pores, coming out, raring to go?
No, I think that this wasn't like heavy handed in any way. I think that was really character based and stuff like that, and it made sense. It reminded me of another movie from the 80s, The Legend of Billie Jean, in a way, but this was done so much more masterfully than that, where that was kind of just like a weird Christian Slater movie about like no fair is fair and shit like that. Whereas this is just like you feel these women from the moment you see them, like you said, like the opening shot of Gina Davis, that you could tell that she's constantly just getting cheated on. She's not allowed to go out of the house that much.
I think a subtle nuance of this was like at the beginning of the movie when Louise calls her being like, oh, you haven't told Daryl yet that you're leaving, blah, blah, blah. I'm just gonna. She's like, she's just like, I just left a note and a TV home dinner. But she walks out of her house with everything she owns for a weekend trip, right? Like she was like, this is my time to escape, and I'm going to use it, even if she maybe didn't understand that at the time. Like why would you pack 8 bags to go for a weekend? You wouldn't. And I
And
think
she was
the
too
character.
scared to tell Daryl directly, like, "Hey, I'm going out with Louise for the weekend" or something like that.
Yeah, she was too scared to even tell him that to his face. And I think, like, even if she didn't fully like the character Thelma, because like both of these characters are, I also like that both of them are flawed characters. Like both, like Thelma's a little too naive and Louise is a little too brash for her own good. I mean, that's what gets the whole story started, right? Like, which I think is a big credit to this script, is like both of these heroes are flawed, and have these kind of punctuating points that we kind of learn to live with and go through it throughout the story. Um, but I think, um, for like for we mentioned this before, but Thelma's character is the one that kind of has like the growth arc. I think a great scene of that is when they're driving through New Mexico, driving 110 down those roads, which sounds like the most fun thing in the world, by the way. Like an empty road in New Mexico, just going as fast as you can in a convertible, in like a T-Bird convertible, sounds incredible. But they get pulled over, and Luis is about to get arrested for driving 110, like clearly way above the speed limit. And then all of a sudden, Thelma shows up with the gun pointed at his head. And like the actual intent to kill, like the actual intent to fire that gun, right? Like it's there. And it's at, we didn't even mention the bank,
Well,
the
it's the weird
convenience store
thing.
robbery, but like it's clearly built up to her. Like I think for Thelma, it's more interesting. Like Luis is the one with the escape plan. Like we'll get to Mexico, we'll do all these things. Like we'll finally be free. Where I think Thelma realizes, like, I get to live for one time in my life. I'm going to live to the extent of it. And
Well,
like I
it's the
think
weird thing that the Brad Pitt character, we haven't really talked about that much. Almost like kind of just like opens her up to like different possibilities. Where like, you know, when she does the bank robbery, she's basically just aping what Brad Pitt told her, like how he used to do his fucking things. She's using his stick about like how like either you'll have the best story of your life or you'll walk out with a toe tag. Just that's the way you want to do it.
I think it's his exact speech. Like
You literally, yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's great. That's what's so great about it.
And
Is that they're
he's
all
just
watching the video, like they can't understand
that's a
how
great.
she's changed so much, but they don't know who she is. Like she's had this experience where she knows what to do now.
That is such a great cut, by the way.
Yes, it's a great edit.
I loved that editing there, where like Thelma goes into the convenience store, and it just like lingers on Susan Sarandon, who's panicking. Brad Pitt had just stole 67, like her life savings that they were going to use to get away, and she's trying to smoke a cigarette. She can't even do it. She's trying to apply lipstick, throw it at the car. Like, I don't care. Thelma, start the car! Run, run, run! Like it just starts. What happened? Hard cut to the security footage, and the guy's just in the FBI headquarters, like Christopher McDonald sitting there with like his hand in his head, like, oh my god, who is this woman? And just Stephen Tobolowsky just like eating a sandwich, being like,
I love that the whole third time.
like they're just completely unfazed by what they're watching here. Like this is just routine for these guys. Like, love that little editing there. One of those like great moments where it's like films are made in the editing, and then you know Thelma starts talking, and then it cuts to the can you believe that she like doesn't hit the same versus you know, tell versus show, right?
Exactly, right there. And it's just so funny, just like all Chris McDowell's reactions to everything that's happening. It's so great.
Oh, and
so,
can I want to say just like tell versus show, and you guys were talking about the feminism of the movie, right? I just wanted to add that I feel like the problem with the maybe feminism in today's movies, and I don't want to get in trouble, but here's the thing. It's show versus tell. Today, I think it's just poor writing. I don't think it's an issue with feminism, right?
I agree completely. I was saying this. You made my point more eloquently, but I think the issue with like a lot of like modern day like we're talking about like this movie comes out today, it's classified as woke, but like I don't think this is necessarily a woke movie per se, but like I think woke in like the derogatory way of like describing it really comes down to like heavy-handedness in terms of the writing and bashing their audience over the head with their messaging and
Yeah.
like telling you they're telling you where movies work the best when they show. They don't tell us this
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
And
So
and,
this
and all
this
the examples
movie's
you gave great examples before about Tim. You said like Thelma comes out of the house with all her belongings, right? She doesn't have to say it. She doesn't have to tell Louise, I'm bringing all my stuff because I want to get freedom from my husband. We just see it all. We see it. We don't have to be told it. It's really well
we
done.
saw
It's
it
a
from
good movie.
we saw it from the interaction beforehand with
Yep.
her husband. The one interaction they have in the entire movie on screen together, where it's like this guy, uh, he you don't think
sucks.
Christopher
He
McDonald,
sucks.
you don't think Christopher McDonald was using the ring finger in that movie? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like you make the joke like, oh, meatloaf's cold, boom, like that's that guy, right? Like that's the situation she's in. So I think it's this movie's just showing you these things, and then the back end of your brains, you're getting that sense, and it's part of the reason why the movie works, even if you don't clock it on a first view. Um, I I just think this movie like also really succeeds because of Gina Davis. I just want to say like when you first meet Thelma, you kind of think she's just dumb, right? Like I think she kind of comes across that way. And
Well,
as she
naive.
just like
Yeah.
and naive and dumb and just like us East Coast elites, right? As we're so called dubbed, would call this woman from Arkansas dumb, just sight unseen, right? Like that's just who we are. New Yorkers from birth, like that's just what we do. But no, like I love like there's a whole mystery element of this movie that I love that never gets explained, but they talk about Luis having an issue with going to Texas when they're trying to make an escape. It's like, we got to go to Mexico, but find a route that doesn't take us through Texas. And she's like, we're in Oklahoma. What do you mean find a route that doesn't take us through Texas? Like, there's nothing else. There's Texas or there's nowhere else to go. And she's like, oh, you won't go to, she's like, just don't mention Texas to me. Like, I won't talk about it. And then later on in the movie, when they're driving and they kind of realize they're fucked, Thelma just says like, it happened to you before, right? What happened to me in the parking lot? Like, that's why you acted so violently. And Luis doesn't respond, but I think it's made very clear in that instance. That's likely what happened to her.
And even Harvey Keitel later on was being like, I know what happened to you in Texas. And like, she's just like, kind of just like, doesn't know what to say.
She hangs up the phone immediately.
Yeah.
She hangs up the phone immediately after he says
She's
that.
immediately
Like,
done.
she's immediately done. She's immediately bothered by that. But again, it's one of those like, show us, don't tell. Like you didn't need the 5-minute monologue of Susan Sarandon talking about her.
You're
rape
right.
because we already had it. We already had it in the movie.
Well,
and we already saw Susan Sarandon's reaction to it.
Yeah, even Susan Sarandon's reaction in the most harrowing scene, which is the rape scene, where like when the guy says that last little moment, that egger on, being like, "Oh, I should have done it anyways," or whatever, or like maybe I should have done it earlier.
And he goes, "Suck my cock."
Suck my cock. She immediately, like, her face just goes like, fuck this. Shoots him in the fucking face.
Yeah.
You don't need to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just stopped her." You said, you just know in the moment that guy was just fucking asking for it. At the end of the day, he was being a fucking piece of shit. Beyond
and I
belief.
think in 2026 we would get a whole speech about what exactly happened in Texas and what it meant to her and how it's affected her and now how she's gotten over it. And while that's all important, it's not in a film. It's better if we don't understand it, because I bet each one of us has a slightly different version of what happened to Louise in Texas. And while we all might think it's this thing, there could be different versions of it. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of ambiguity, and that's what's so great about film versus reading a book, is that it's our minds. We fill in the blanks.
Yeah. We're not giving anything. So I think this is a time that we should probably start talking about Brad Pitt, because literally, if there's one big special effect this movie has, as a straight guy, I'll say this, is Brad Pitt with his fucking shirt off in this movie. It's like, Jesus Christ. Immediately, like, you can see why this guy was like a breakout movie for him. Yeah. You can see why this is a breakout role for him, because like even the blocking of like how he's introduced in this movie, where he's like outside the phone booth.
He's just
where
the coolest fucking guy you've ever seen in your life, despite the fact that he has no ride, nowhere to go. He's just like there with a bag over his shoulder, just like, damn,
and like
that's
the
the
biggest
coolest
cowboy
guy.
hat that stays on when you're in a fucking convertible going like 67 miles an hour. I was thinking the whole time, I was like, how's it not falling off? But anyways, but like, you know, Gina Davis in the phone booth, she's talking to whoever, and then she trips over Brad Pitt, and like Brad Pitt, it's like almost like he trips into Hollywood stardom right in that moment, right there.
He didn't get the true movie star shot. He didn't get but he got a little bit of an introduction there. Did you guys know when he was in the room with Gina Davis, and then he starts talking about his past as like he's running from his parole officer, he was a robber, you were just like, that $6,700 is gone. Vanquish.
Oh, 100%.
See you later.
As
You
soon
knew
as
that.
he said that, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then there's a sex
crazy.
scene also in this movie with Gina Davis and Brad Pitt. It's quick in the movie, but did you know, fun fact, there is a 15-minute version of that sex scene that Hans Zimmer called the most erotic thing he's ever seen.
You're like, I need to see that cut right now.
I was not aware. But if you'll excuse me for a moment.
Yeah. We'll record back in 20 minutes, so be back. No, so Brad Pitt, like, basically
Marathon man over here.
Yeah, he auditioned for the role of JD. Scott thought he was too young at first, so they moved on, and they offered to part to William Baldwin, and then Baldwin dropped out, and then Baldwin's replacement dropped out, and there's some other actors like River Phoenix, Christian Slater, George Clooney. They all like screen tested and all like were in the mix, and then basically after Gina Davis screen tested with George Clooney, with Mark Ruffalo, and Brad Pitt, she said we should pick Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt at this point was unknown. Like the only other starring role he's had, or even a significant role, was in a directed-DVD slasher movie I've seen before called Cutting Class, where like he's like one of the three teens in the high school that's like being chased by a killer. It's not that good of a movie, but it's a weird thing where it's like it's interesting to watch because you're like, even in that movie, you have Brad Pitt talking while he's eating an apple. And it's like, oh, that was there from the beginning. Like it was always there, him eating and talking and acting. So basically, he's picked out of obscurity because after this, he has Thelma Louise. Then next year's Cool World, awful movie. And then we talked about this in True Romance. He goes into the True Romance, and the year after it's Interview with the Vampire, and it's taken off from there. He has 7, 12 Monkeys. And this is really the like probably most pivotal role he ever got in his career right here. Because you see this movie, I can imagine this movie attracted a mostly female audience. They see Brad Pitt with his shirt off, and like, that's the thing they're remembering a lot about this movie. Like, who's that hot guy in that movie?
Yeah, he's Fight Club Brad Pitt in this movie. If you haven't seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Brad Pitt with the shirt off in Fight Club. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I haven't seen that in theaters recently, and that was also a thing where it's like, Jesus Christ.
Brad Pitt just has like get the looks of a leading man, and then the persona of a character actor, and it's like it's the Inglourious Bastard. Like I think Tarantino, like there's been a lot of Tarantino revision against him a lot, at least lately, and he's brought it on to himself, I would say. But his movies also slap, and I love them. But like he knows how to use a Brad Pitt. Like the 2 times he's worked with Brad Pitt, like all-time performances. Aldo Rain, and then why am I blanking on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Brad Pitt's character name.
What's his name? Fucking Cliff Booth.
Cliff Booth.
Oh yeah,
and
Cliff Booth.
Even technically in True Romance, because we talked about that in True Romance, where like that was just such a scene-stealing performance. And here again, like where you see it, it's like it's magnetic. You can see that like for Thelma, or not for Thelma, Brad Pitt just like opens up a world to her being more loose up and more confident in herself, even if it ends in a bad way.
She actually had sex for the first time. That probably helps.
But even like Brad Pitt's like fucking like interactions with Christopher McDonald, where he's like, "Oh, I had fun with your wife the other night," and Christopher McDonald's reaction, where he tries to fucking like, "Oh, I'll fucking kill you." It's so fucking amazing. There's one great way you still use Chris McDonald. It's to cuck him over and over again. He's just like the ultimate cuck actor.
Yeah, because like Christopher McDonald's most iconic performance is definitely Shooter McGavin, right? Like
absolutely.
That's the tombstone role for him. But it's like he, as an actor, just seems to have like this unrelenting anger inside of him, and then like when it's used properly, it's so effective. And I feel like this movie really like just nailed that casting choice. It's just like, you see that guy frame one and you're like, I hate this guy. I hate him immediately. Like, fuck this guy.
It's just
Everything
like I
about him.
said, the goofiest look and just like how fucking like tight his shirt seemed to be for a carpet salesman. Just like everything about it, just down to wardrobe. It's just like this guy's a piece of shit.
So for you guys, and I'm kind of interested about this because I think this movie leaves behind an interesting legacy. What do you think this movie will leave with you? Right, like in a year, maybe it's been a year since you've watched it, and then it just magically pops into your head. Like, what is the resonating feeling that this movie's going to leave with you?
I think the chemistry between Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis, because literally without them, it would not work well. I mean, like, you know, we talked about the other casting choices. I'm sure it would have been fun and fine and great, but like just the two of them just play off each other so well where you buy their friendship immediately and you see like the love they have for each other. So when you get to the end of the movie and they drive off that cliff, they're holding hands, you buy that they would do that they would go out together in a blaze of glory where they're just like, all right, let's do it. Like at this point, they found like, you know, ultimate love within each other in like a platonic way that you don't really see a lot in movies.
So this is maybe a weird answer, but I really vibed with Harvey Keitel's performance. I really liked Harvey
Yeah.
Keitel in this movie, and maybe it's because this is the only movie that I remember him being such a pure character. He's such a good person. And all the roles, at least that I'm familiar with Keitel in, he's always either a gangster or in the criminal underworld. Even in like Pulp,
Snappy.
yeah. In Pulp Fiction, he's sort of a good guy, but he's a bad guy. But he's got there's something about him where in this film he really feels like just like a good man, and I've never seen him like that, and I don't know why, but the second time I watched it, I really liked his character. I really feel bad for him in the end. He's chasing after the car. He tried so hard, and he
to
kept
get
saying
them
like,
to
he's
get
like,
them
these
out
girls
of
are gonna get shot. Like they're gonna get shot. Like I
Well,
don't want them to die.
you feel that character like this case probably haunts him for the rest of his life. And
Yeah,
even
yeah.
when he says to Brad Pitt that like he says to Brad Pitt, if anything happens to these girls, I hope you know that I'm gonna put all the blame on you and I'm gonna make the rest of your life fucking like hell. And it
Yeah, and I
seems like
believe him. I believe him.
yeah.
Like
And it seems like Harvey Keitel and to a lesser extent Michael Madsen were the only two guys in these two girls' lives that like actually cared for them or like gave them anything to live for. And Harvey, they didn't even know that Harvey Keitel was out, like looking out for them. They just thought, oh,
But how
cop.
and I think it kind of goes back to that like feminist angle. I think Michael Madsen is like the perfect depiction to counteract Harvey Keitel's. Like 95% of the interaction with Michael Madsen's character in this, you're like, you know what, he's a good guy. Like they had a very amicable breakup, like a very mature, like Susan Sarandon being like, I'm in trouble. I just need your help now, but like I'm going down this path and I don't want to take you with it. It's very mature, but then there's that 5% where he just lashes out in anger, right? Like where he just completely loses control and just puts fear over her, right? Like there is that dynamic that clearly comes out that had definitely been a part of their relationship beforehand. And none of these women have had any men in their life to trust that we have seen, right? Like there's no leading example of a good man that they have to go off of. And I think it's a hard, talking with my girlfriend about like, like men and things like that. Like for me, like I like to think of myself as like a good person and I would never treat somebody like this. But, she's also said it's like, yeah, you don't do that, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? Like that doesn't mean that men have don't treat women this way. And like pretending that like men haven't treated women like this and still do treat women like this is a fallacy, right? Like they do, like it happens.
yeah, of course.
So I think it's an interesting, I think it's an interesting way to kind of like to portray that with the Harvey Keitel where like I mentioned before, like I felt like there was another uh, motivator guiding him, but I do think he is a good person at heart. But there is also the like, why would you fly to Arizona to go find them? At this point,
Yeah.
it's like because you want the state jurisdiction, right? Like that's what it is. Like where I didn't think there was enough of Harvey Keitel's character to to really say like, oh yeah, he's just inherently a good guy, just inherently a sweetheart. But I think that's a very interesting point. Like I didn't get to watch this with my girlfriend, but I want to watch this with her, and I want to get her take on this because I think it would just be interesting to have a woman's take, like opinion on this movie, kind of going back to it and diving into
Yeah.
it. So
Well, and I think what's interesting again is like 1991 versus 2026 is that I think it's great that in 1991 they had Harvey Keitel and Michael Madsen as counterweights to the other males who maybe were pushing them in the wrong direction or treating them poorly. I think today, like the female Ghostbusters is a good example where oh, I can't think of his name. Thor. What's his name?
Chris
Chris
Hemsworth.
Hemsworth. Yeah,
Chris
yeah.
Hemsworth, right? He's just like a complete doofus, and he's one of the only males in the whole movie. And like, I don't think there's any men in that movie who are just normal people. But in this movie, in Thelma Louise, which is like obviously a very feminist movie for the time, they still were, I think, like fair and realistic about
Like
the world and the story that they were telling.
like Michael Madsen's character felt like a real life human being, like a guy who's like realizes his relationships on the rocks. He's trying to do this big. He's got one last swing, right? Like let's
It's
give her the
probably
ring and let's see
only
what
time-
happens.
It's probably the only time I've seen Michael Madsen in a role where he's not playing a complete piece of shit. Because, like you said earlier, he probably could have easily played the guy that rapes Gina Davis in the beginning. That probably would have been like an easy role for him to do. But like the fact he's able to stretch out of his thing and like play this role instead, where he plays like a mostly nice guy, decent guy, is just like shocking. And also, I do want to shout out his fucking shirt in this movie was awesome. The little like blue button down thing he's wearing.
Yeah, 100%.
It says something about the culture, though, that 91, the two best movies probably out of this year were this movie and Silence of the Lambs, which I watched recently in theaters like a week ago. So it's interesting seeing these back to back where, like, when you go into the Oscars of this movie, Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon were both nominated for Best Actress. And they lost against the juggernaut that was Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. You can see why, but it's still just like that movie again is also about like, how it is to be a woman in the workplace and stuff like that. And like when you really go into it.
Oh yeah, no, and I think to your point, it's just it's an interesting tone that kind of sets the '90s on like you could almost look as the rest of the films of the '90s, like, and like I guess the only thing that's like really coming to my mind right now is a movie like American Pie that's like very, like, I have a soft spot for it. Like I grew up with it. There's definitely funny bits in it, but it's like definitely exploitative and like negative towards women.
Yeah, especially the Shannon Elizabeth scene.
Yeah, it didn't age the best. But it's like almost a response to these kind of like feminist pictures coming out, and I think it's very. It leads to a great, another great conversation like this one. Like I hope, we'll hear from people, but I hope we gave this movie like the justice it deserves in like our analysis of it.
And this won the Oscar for Best Screenplay, for best like written directly for the screen. Silence of the Lambs won Best Adapted Screenplay that year.
This one original.
Over Boys in the Hood, which that is like a hell of a screenplay too, and Fisher King, that's a great screenplay. So it's just, but shows just like how great and Callie Kerr was, and I think this is like one of the only movies she ever wrote. But she wrote actually a few other movies, but none of them got to the level that this did.
No, this is her magnum opus for sure.
I am a star. I'm a star. I'm a star. I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right, who's the star of the movie? Who gave the best performance in your mind? I feel like we almost like talking about all the context and like the social messaging of this movie, like really didn't get to lay into our two stars of this movie, Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon. And like I want to exemplify them. The male actors in this movie gave incredible performances, but this is a Gina Davis, Susan Sarandon vehicle. And I think if we're going to pick the star of this movie, it's only one of the two of them. So, Tommy, for you, who did you feel gave the best performance?
It's almost like tempting to do what the Oscars did and just like say both. because like you don't see that often that you see a movie where like both of the leads get nominated for the best like actress or best actor role in like the same category, facing off. But like I think that Jane Davis had more of a character arc and like more things to do in this, slightly more than Susan Sarandon did. But even Susan Sarandon's like reactions to like when she's seeing Gina Davis come into her own against the state trooper, and her mouth is just like open agape when she pulls out the gun against the fucking state trooper, and she's so shocked. It's a great comedic moment, but it's also great acting where she's like, I can't believe my best friend's fucking doing this shit right now. Where did this come from? Where has this been all this time? So if I had to choose one, I'd say Gina Davis, though, just because like her whole character arc and how you could see just through her mannerisms how much more confident she seems at the end of the movie, where like in the beginning of the movie, even in terms of wardrobe, she was more buttoned up and stuff like that. And the end of the movie, she's wearing like essentially like cut off t-shirt and just like so confident when she's pulling over that truck driver.
Confederate flag shirt.
Yeah,
she's got like the America hat. She's got the American flag hat. Yeah.
They really, in terms of everything in this movie, just even in terms of costume choices, you can just see like that it speaks so much to character. It's really, the production behind this is just so well done.
She actually really reminded me of Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 when she had the hat on and she had the cutoff shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I was like, yeah, she's completely changed. It was a great representation.
Yeah. I think for me, I don't know if Sean knows the origin of me and Gina Davis, but I have a connection to Gina Davis that dates back to the first time I ever watched A League of Their Own when I was like 3 years old. And I saw her on the screen and I was just like, that is a beautiful woman. Oh my gosh. And it's the first time in my life I've ever had a cognizant realization of like, oh my gosh, holy, they look, oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I have a very soft spot in my heart for Gina Davis, but I just, the way she was able to transition Thelma and keep Thelma the same, right? Like, I think another issue with like contemporary feminist stuff that where it like really falls awry is like the character doesn't stay true to who the actress, like they just shift and they're just this like different character altogether. She's able to keep Thelma while advancing her, like keep the sweet spirit of her. And I think that's a really difficult thing as an actor to do. And I just thought it was an incredible, mind-blowing performance that probably deserved an Academy Award, except she went against Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. So for me, it's Gina Davis, but Susan Sarandon is no joke in this. She gives a really terrific performance alongside her.
Yeah, I have to echo the two of you guys. Gina Davis for me also. If I could narrow it down to one thing without echoing the same things that you guys said, which I agree with, it would be that in the terms of, if I'm watching a movie, what's going to keep me watching a movie? It's my eyes on something. If Gina Davis was on screen, my eyes were on Gina Davis, and that was it. Everything that she did, I was completely engaged by. I believed her character. I was enamored by her. I was attracted to her. I felt bad for her when awful things happened to her, and I was proud of her when I saw her character change. For me, Gina Davis got me through that second watch easily because I feel like she was like the linchpin in the whole film. I think everybody else was great. Susan Sarandon was excellent, and it was cool to see her in a role where she was younger, because I only know her as an older female actress, and so it made me kind of understand why people treat her the way they do. She's great. She's awesome in the movie. It's Thelma and Louise for a reason. But for me, it was a Gina Davis movie.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka.
All right, guys. Another follow-up edition of Would This Work as a Muppet Adaptation? We tried to do 2001: A Space Odyssey last week. It didn't go great. Now, does Thelma and Louise work as a Muppet adaptation? Because I think there's a case of Piggy and Janice on the run.
I feel like
That
that'd be
worked.
it, but you'd have to cut out obviously the nightclub rape scene. Unfortunately, you do not want to see that in a Muppet movie whatsoever. Just like you have to sanitize this for kids a little bit, to be honest. But
You could get them on the run without that, though. Like
Do
you
you
could just
keep-
you could make it a robbery and they go on the run.
do you keep Brad Pitt as himself? So like Miss Piggy fucks Brad Pitt.
No, well, it'd be
Or is it
Janice. Janice is Thelma. Piggy's Louise. Let's be honest here.
Piggy,
Can I be
shoot a
honest?
guy,
I
yeah.
actually don't know who Janice is. Can you guys tell me who
She's
Janice
the
is? I
Dr.
feel
T.
good about the Muppets, but I don't know who Janice is.
You know Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, like the Muppet band, like the hippie Muppet band.
She's the
Yeah, I
she's
can
the
picture the band.
She's the hippie female singer in that with like she has like a
Oh,
Rasta
she like
hat
her
on.
eyes
yeah.
are always closed.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is what you get when you go on the pod. You get the Muppet experts talking.
Oh
to
no,
you.
but I can see that. Okay, I get it now.
I feel like
Cool.
she's more of like a Thelma and Piggy's more of like the Louise of this duo here. But
Piggy is definitely Louise. Yeah, absolutely.
and it actually works that there's like only 2 female characters in this movie because
There's only 2 female Muppets.
There's only 2 female Muppets. We've looked extensively. It's very hard.
I'm trying to
cast a
figure
lot.
out who would be Bluesky right now. Like that's all I care about. Who would be?
Do you think that like as a metaphor for sexism, like the girls are just Muppets and everyone else is just human?
just the 2 female Muppets?
Yeah,
Everybody else.
that would work. That would work theoretically, but it's more fun to figure out who Bluesky would be.
Yeah,
That's what
who's
I
the
wanna know.
Tobolowsky Muppet? Well, it's actually
Is that Sam the Eagle? I feel like Sam the Eagle in a camo role.
No, I think Honey Buns is more Tobolowsky vibe.
I like Sam the Eagle. Actually. Yeah,
But he's
man,
the
'cause
guy
he's
that's on
bald. He's a
Harvey.
bald
He's the guy-
eagle.
If you had Kermit in the Harvey Keitel role, like I feel like that's Kermit, right? Like that's him.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
That's
I
him.
like
And
that.
then you have Sam the Eagle there, like just being a little bit more stern, being like, "It's not your job anymore. You gotta let it go."
I like that.
I can see that.
You know, that's more. Of Sam
Who's
the Eagle.
Keitel? Who's Keitel?
Kermit.
Kermit. Yeah, Kermit. I can
Oh,
see
I'm
that.
sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I still
No.
think you only keep Brad Pitt as the human because I think it'd just be funny, just like him in the cowboy hat.
Him
in the car.
Well, we got to watch him try to seduce an animated thing in Cool Runnings, so I.
Cool World. No, look, he
Cool
was the one
World.
that was trying to fuck the cartoon in that. That was
Cool
Gabriel
Runnings is
Byrne.
a great movie, though.
Is it? I've watched
Cool.
it.
You don't
oh,
think
no,
it's
Cool Runnings.
Oh,
Cool
no,
Runnings is great.
I was talking about Cool World. Sorry, I got my titles confused. We've been
No,
going.
I know
Cool-
that you meant to say Cool World, but you said Cool
No,
Runnings.
Cool
and I
Running-
just want to
Cool
say
Runnings is-
Cool Runnings
Cool-
is great.
Cool Runnings is great. Cool World is
Cool World's a
certainly-
weird movie where Gabriel Byrne tries to fuck cartoon Kim Basinger, and it's like just the weirdest
If
shit
you
I've
wanted
ever
to
watched in
watch-
my life.
If you wanted to watch a horny
I'm not
Roger
kidding, that's the
Rabbit
plot.
if you wanted to watch horny Roger Rabbit with worse animation, watch Cool World. That's
It's
what
like
it is.
Kim Basinger to become a human needs to fuck a human, and so
I
she
remember the VHS at Blockbuster, but I couldn't tell you if I saw it or not. I might have seen
probably
it
good you
once.
haven't. It's not a good movie.
I don't know.
If you consider yourself a connoisseur of bad film, it's definitely worth watching because it's interesting. It's an
I might have
interesting
seen
bad
it.
movie, but it's not like I wouldn't sit here and tell you like, oh, you got to check this movie out because
Cool World.
You could live your life without Cool World and you'll be quite all right.
You do have to see Roger Rabbit, though.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
We,
that's
we
a
are
classic.
Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit's like a pinnacle.
If
of
we could
cinema.
find a friend that hasn't watched Roger Rabbit, then like that's a instant.
That's a
cover.
problem.
That's a hard.
problem.
Oh my God.
We gotta go after like Gen Zers. We have to go after like people.
Well, we
who
had a
just, like,
friend. We had a friend that never saw Jurassic Park, so we got to cover that at least.
I think. We'll message Davey. We'll
That's
see. If he's seen it.
incredible. Oh my God.
I do remember in college, I showed a girl that was dating at the time, Roger Rabbit, and she like hated it and thought it was awful. And I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work out. That
Yeah, that's
you hate Roger Rabbit. It's like, what was going on here?
that's tough.
That's a red flag.
Giant red flag. All right, review time, fellas. Give me your score out of 5. Tommy, why don't you kick us off?
I had a blast with this movie. I mean, I think it balances the like two tones really well, but overall, the chemistry between Susan Sarandon and Gene Davis carries this movie, and just like you meet with like colorful characters along the way, and Michael Madsen giving a great performance against type, and just everything from like the production, like the lighting in this movie, even the costume choices, just incredible. I'm gonna have to go 4.5 out of 5. I just love this movie.
Sean, how about you?
So I'm gonna start with my rating. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5 stars because
you
I
hate women.
think no, it's because it's
I'm
for
sorry, you
me.
set me up
No,
there.
that's a side fact. I mean, I have 2 daughters. I love girls.
I'm fucking with you.
Oh my god.
Just put her on the spot.
7 out of 2 stars. Is that a better
7 out of
ratio
2
for
stars.
you?
Yeah. There you go.
Is that a better
yeah.
7 out of 2?
Yeah.
No, so here's the thing, and I'm going to tell you why it's 3.5 and not 4. And for me, it's 3.5 and not 4 because of the imbalance in tone for me. I really noticed it on the second viewing that sort of like some scenes are hard comedy and some scenes are hard drama. It kind of took me out of it the second time where it was less engaging for me. The first time I really liked it because I had never seen it before. But when I watched it the second time for just like fun facts and more data to talk to you guys about, I found myself less engaged because I really didn't like the comedy scenes. I enjoyed the drama. I wish that it had stayed with the Hans Zimmer score and not the just musical, like just songs.
Oh,
And
I loved the songs on my
Yeah, the
first
soundtrack
watch,
was
and
great for me.
I thought the
no,
soundtrack was perfect.
It's fun, but I just felt like it's not as cohesive for me, and I
Okay.
don't think that
Yeah, fair.
I don't see myself wanting to rewatch it again anytime soon. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's the difference between a 3.5 and a 4 for me, is that I really liked it. I think it was a great movie. I think the performances were excellent. I understand why it's a classic, but it's not going to be a favorite for me.
That's fair. I think that's very fair. I think that's also, you have that, like, I only had time to be able to watch it once, and I think, I think if I had been able to maybe see it twice, I might be able to have smelt that out a little bit more. Just like, because like I also, like, for me it was 4 out of 5. I thought really the way it conveyed its message really resonated with me, really worked with me. I think it really showed the struggle that women can have with men and just like the world that the hand of cards that they're dealt with. And I thought for me it did it in like the perfect way. Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon just like lit up the screen and really, really carried this vehicle into what I would consider a classic, like, and a true like underrated. Like, I didn't even realize this was a Ridley Scott film before going into it.
It
And
doesn't
I
feel
didn't
like
know
it.
that either. Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know until yesterday.
I saw it
2 days ago.
I saw it directed by Ridley Scott. I was like, whoa, okay, all right, let's go, Thelma and Louise. And I think the way it starts out, that like I think my biggest issue with it is probably the tonal imbalance, but like I also kind of view it through that Sopranos lens, but I don't know if it like blended the humor as well as like something like the Sopranos does. Um like I think of the scene of them shooting up the oil truck, and like just emasculating that guy, that felt a little bit like out of left field for where the movie was going, other than like the FBI is now on these guys, right? Like that's the only narrative purpose it served. Otherwise, it felt a little bit like, fuck this guy, we're gonna just ruin his life completely. But I really enjoyed this movie. I'm very excited to share it with my girlfriend and like watch it with her. I think it would be interesting to get like a woman's perspective on this movie, like, back to me, and just see how it resonates with someone that's going to connect with the characters more than the three of us will be able to, probably. Yeah, it's the truth. Sean, thank you for coming on. Fantastic discourse as always. I hope my joke did not sour you on the Haven't Seen It podcast experience, but
No, I actually I really enjoyed coming back. Thanks for having me a second week in a row. I thought that was actually I don't know. I like this a lot. This was great. It was great talking to you guys about movies. I don't see myself having watched Thelma and Louise 2 times this week. if it wasn't to come on and talk to you guys. So, I hope it was good content, but it was great talking to you guys about this classic movie, and it was a great excuse to see a classic movie that I had put off for years, and I'm so glad I finally saw it. It's a great movie. It's awesome. 3.5 is a great score, and I loved watching the movie. I love talking to you guys about it. I'm so glad I finally saw the movie.
No, you hit the one note where the joke and the glass of bourbon I had at the same time just coincided, and just like, oh, I gotta get this. I gotta get this.
I don't remember the specific burn. Can you remind me the burn? Which
I just
burn?
said, you said 3.5 out of 5, and I said, because you hate women.
Oh, no. That was true. I didn't know that was a joke. Girls are bad. No, yeah. I love my girls.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, Tim, I'll tell you this. For those of you listening at this point, before we actually started the podcast, Tim guilted me on leaving my daughter 5 minutes early because I was doing bedtime. The podcast started at 9:00, and I left her. I call myself film school dad, but I am a joke.
Only took you an hour, spending an hour of your time with your daughter trying to get her to sleep, that you're just like, no, I gotta go, honey, because I gotta do the podcast.
I'll tell you something about her specifically. She doesn't sleep. I have 3 kids. 2 of them sleep like angels, but she's probably going to be up in like 10 minutes being like, oh, daddy, hello, I love you so much. So that's just her deal. It's all good.
Yeah.
So it's good that you're awake anyway. It's good that we kept you up instead of getting.
She's actually my movie buddy. She's watched all the Jurassic Park movies, all the Mission Impossible films, all the Back to the Future films. She's gone to the movies with me a bunch of times. Like, she's super cool. She's down.
So all it's telling me is your daughter's going to be super cultured in the future. Like, she's going to be running laps around her Gen Alpha friends who are just like, I know Bluey and TikTok. I know Bluey and TikTok, and she's just going to be like, now, let me educate you, son, on the history of the world here, okay? Because I got it.
Yeah, she's cool. She's cool.
Oh,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, let them know people where they can find you.
So I'm at Twitter. It's film _ school _ dad, and YouTube at film school dad. Just Google me. I do videos about Christopher Nolan, about Stanley Kubrick, about stuff that I like. And on Twitter, I just retweet a bunch of nonsense that annoys me. Thank you guys so much for having me. Yeah.
Anytime. So final thought real quick on this movie. You said how this is crazy, how this is a Ridley Scott movie. This was like his only third movie that took place in modern times, because at the time he was mostly known as a sci-fi or fantasy director, because he did Alien, Blade Runner, and Legend, and that was mostly what he was known for. So great checking this out. Really glad we decided to watch it. It just
for the people who made it to the 92-minute mark. Congratulations on here.
We beat last week's episode. Yeah,
we vamped more on this one though. We definitely got into more tangents this time.
So, but Thelma Louise just celebrated its 35th anniversary this month. So, great movie. Glad we checked it out. You can find us on social media at CNETPod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also find us on Bluesky, podcnet.bluesky.social, and leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. It helps us out. Helps us grow the show. And next week, we're celebrating another anniversary, a 15th anniversary. It's going to be Drive. Also, I forgot to mention our sponsors. We are sponsored by Old Glory, oldglory.com. You can get cool movie merch, stuff like Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, anything from Big Lebowski, and your sports merch. You can get 15% off at checkout using promo code CNET. CNET like the way we spell it on our pod. Once again, that's at oldglory.com. And using promo code CNET. And finally, we are sponsoring Connecticut Cult Classics. They do amazing double features of 80s, 90s cult classic movies at the Strand Theater in Seymour, Connecticut. And on June 13th, they're doing Misery and Stand By Me, Rob Reiner, Stephen King double feature. It's going to be awesome. You can get your tickets at ConnecticutCultClassics.com, and that's on June 13th at the Strand Theater in Seymour, Connecticut. So, like I said, next week, we're covering Drive, the Ryan Gosling movie. Never seen it. Tim,
haven't watched it since college, baby. I'm very excited to
that's gonna be a good one.
I'm curious what my opinion on Drive will be, but I'm very excited.
Has it aged poorly? Has it aged greatly? We'll see.
I am also going to try to get to the earliest possible screening of The Mandalorian and Grogu I can get to, and then determine if we need to do an emergency podcast on it or not. That might be how we have to end up May, because Star Wars is movies. I'm sorry, it just is. And if you guys like that, tweet at us, let us know at CinePod. We'd be happy to either bury Star Wars either further into the ground or maybe elevate. It could surprise us.
Could be.
Nothing about it has been telling me this is going to be great, but who knows? Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next week.